G'day everyone, it's Matt here for the 11th At an Army project. Today we're going to be talking about magnets, what they can be used for, some tips for using them. Yeah, that's about it. So basically, Viv the other day challenged me to assemble this Furioso Dreadnought and to magnetise all the components, because he's a bit bizarre like that. He has a thing for magnets. So basically what we did was we magnetised the whole thing. From the torso, there's a magnet in this little bit which sits, these two bits go together, put a magnet in under there. You then, as you can see if I pull this front off, there's a little magnet in the bottom there which magnetised to it, which then connects to that one. Now the arms, you get enough arms with this kit to not have to magnetise various parts to them. Except for the blood talons and the little power clawy bits, the power fist bits. One problem with this kit is that you don't get enough of these little stumpy fingers, so I've had to go without on the blood talons because I didn't realise till after I'd assembled them. Now, the way I've magnetised these, I've drilled a little hole in the wrists, put a tiny little magnet in. I've dremeled out the inside of the various claws, stuck a 6mm magnet in there so that it sits like that, nice and flush. Okay, I've magnetised the flamer on, so that goes well. So there. I've also got the storm bolter. Doesn't sit as well with this, but yeah. Basically, I just trimmed out these bits and fit a magnet in there, and then trimmed out these bits and drilled a little hole in that end bit, and voila, you have a little magnetised bit. Now, I haven't had to magnetise the frag blaster or the force weapon because you don't really need to do anything with those. It requires magnets and they sit on nicely. Not like the old Dreadnought kits where they were a bit loose and you had to glue them in. Also magnetised the fronts so that they just come on and off, and they've been done by a magnet there and a magnet there, then one corresponding on either side. Wouldn't necessarily recommend this. You're probably better off sliding a bit of plastic card across there and slipping a magnet in there somewhere, but we all learn. Would like to say, if you are magnetising stuff and you're not sure if it's going to work, be careful, because these kits aren't cheap, and all of a sudden your method of saving money by buying one kit to make three is a little bit of a disappointment. So yeah, and then I've just green stuffed over where the magnets were visible so that when we paint it up you won't see little magnets at the top there. Now with the magnet gripple, I've just put a magnet on the top on the inside, and then that just sits in there. You almost don't need to magnetise this bit because it kind of sits in nicely. And yeah, so that's magnetised Furioso / Furioso Librarian / Death Company. Now here's some other examples. Here we have my Lehman Russ Executioner. It's basically, it's got magnetised sponsons, so if you want to play without the sponsons, you want to be a cheap ass, you can do that. They have a little bit of green stuff on the inside of the sponson with a 6mm magnet. There's then another 6mm magnet inside this. So remember, you've got to do all this stuff when you're assembling the stuff, so you've got to be thinking about it while you're doing it. So then this just sits on like that. The turret cannon is also magnetised, so that you can then change it with one of the other options on the, in this case, the Punisher. I haven't, however, magnetised the las cannon and the plasma cannons because I didn't really need to. Basically, they've had a tiny bit of green stuff put on them so that they sit a little bit tighter and therefore then don't come out. Same with the plasma cannon. This is a bit too tight by the looks of it. There we go, see? Tiny bit of green stuff sits in there. That makes sense. Then we have Chimera. multi-laser on the turret's magnetised. There's a little hole drilled in with a little, I think it was a 2mm magnet just in there. Then there's just a magnet put on the other side of the little, for lack of a better word, the little tubey bit that sits in the turret. Oh, we might even be able to. Oh no, can't see it. Now, heavy bolter. These are easy. I've become a bit of a pro at doing these. Basically, what you have to do is there's usually an open gap there, so you just put a bit of plastic card over it. You put a bit of super glue down. You put a magnet on the back, and then you line it up by putting another magnet in the middle. You then glue a magnet into there, put it together because it's two separate parts, and then it just sits in there. GW lately seem to be a little bit pro magnets. Some of their kits have convenient little hidey holes at the back of pieces that seem to just fit magnets perfectly. Some don't. This is a good example of one of those. Basically, behind that backing is the perfect little spot for a magnet. Same with this guy, not this piece because I've had to. Oh no, wait, there was. Yeah, this is two parts, and behind this little bit here is a little space perfect for a magnet. Now there are points where it's not. These sponsons, obviously, because there's a massive chunk of green stuff in there, were not made to be magnetised, but they can be done. And you can use magnets for everything. For giving your troops different weapons. I don't personally do it, it's a bit fiddly. But yeah. Also, little tip with magnets. When you're assembling them, make sure you think about which way they go, because once you've glued them down and it turns out that they don't go together, so they're negative, you're stuffed. So it helps to keep an eye on which way they're supposed to be going. I use a little bit of, put a mark Sharpie on one side, and I know that side's not supposed to be, is the side that I don't want it to be glued down on. If there's other, you can just paint one side or whatever. But yeah, it's just a handy little tip when you're gluing magnets, so that you know which side's which. Just a little bit of Sharpie, a little bit of black marker, or a little bit of white paint. And yeah, and always use super glue. Plastic glue is not going to do anything. And yeah, that's Matt for the 11th At an Army project on magnetising. Hope it's been slightly helpful. And don't necessarily completely magnetise a Furioso, it's just silly. Viv just has weird ideas. One's supposed to be black, for fuck's sake. Anyway, it's Matt. Peace out.